Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 230 based on novel. So let's start. Bingling cold liquid. More than 1,000 bottles have been put in. This boy is really a monster. After discovering that the more than 1,000 jade bottles were filled with ice spirit cold liquid, the emotions of Sea Battle Day and Bite Day Jiao were suddenly out of control. Their faces were full of stunned expressions, and their shock was unparalleled. It's hard to imagine that Xiao Yang would be willing to throw more than 1,000 bottles of Bingling cold liquid into the Qianlong abyss without blinking at the corners of his eyes. It's too rich and generous. Seeing this scene, Biti and Jiao couldn't help regretting. If he knew that Xiao Yang would throw so many ice spirit cold liquid into the hidden dragon abyss, he would rather Xiao Yang give him those ice spirit cold liquid. Naturally, he would use them all in the way of maximizing benefits, but looking at the scene, it was too late for him to regret. When the ice spirit cold liquid was put into the Qianlong deep, the extremely terrible yin cold gas spread for a long time. The sea water on the surface of the Qianlong deep quickly frozen at a speed visible to the naked eye, and even the distance of tens of feet below it was also filled with cold ice. The terrible breath came from it, but in the blink of an eye, the Sea Battle Day and the Swallow Day Jiao clearly felt that the yin and cold gas in the hidden dragon abyss has not only returned to its original peak, but even more terrible than ever. Bingling cold liquid really deserves to be the creation of heaven and earth. These powers are much more terrible than the accumulation of his sea family for countless years. Put more than 1,000 bottles of ice spirit cold liquid into the Qianlong deep, but Xiao Yang's face didn't change. For today's Xiao Yang, ice spirit cold liquid is really nothing precious. After all, as long as he has a very cold spirit in his hand, he naturally wants as much as he wants. When Xiao Yang turned around, he found that Phage Chenjiao was looking at him with a smile. Seeing the puzzled expression on Xiao Yang's face, he was embarrassed. Elder Xiao. This time, Phage Chenjiao called Xiao Yang's identity as an elder as soon as he opened his mouth, which also brought the relationship between the two sides closer in an instant. I don't know the ice spirit cold liquid. Do you still have it in your hand? If you can, I hope you can. If the clan leader needs ice spirit cold liquid, I happen to have 100 bottles here. It's just that I thank you for borrowing the Qianlong Yuan. Hearing what Phage Chenjiao said, Xiao Yang immediately understood. Without any hesitation, he waved his palm gently and took a moment. Once again, streamers flew out of the ring, and immediately floated in front of Phage Chenjiao. The latter was stunned by Xiao Yang's generous move. Then he quickly put away the 100 jade bottles with surprise and gratitude. Although Bingling cold liquid didn't play a big role for him, it could be called a big help for the young generation of Haijiao family. The blood of Haijiao family is cold. With the help of Bingling cold liquid, the cultivation of the younger generation of Haijiao family will be upgraded again, which is very important for the future of Haijiao family. In this regard, the Sea Battle Sky on one side glanced lightly, then his eyes fell on Xiao Yang, swept up and down, and said with a smile. Nice little guy. It will be the middle of Huyuan territory in 4 years, and I think your breath is not much different from the later stage of Huyuan territory. It's strange that you should be able to enter the later stage of Huyuan territory with the help of those energies. With a smile in his mouth, the Naval Battle Day immediately found his doubts. He believed that Xiao Yang definitely had the ability to impact the later stage of the source territory, but why didn't he? Oh, too much is better than too little. Everything has to be done slowly. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang grinned, but secretly sighed in his heart. Not only in the later stage of Huayuanjing, if he wanted to, he could break through to return to Yuanjing at one stroke, but he really couldn't bear the consequences of doing so. Now, Xiao Yang is very satisfied. Oh, by the way, I don't know if the boy Xuemian has come back. Before, he came here every day to see when you will leave the pass. Now you're out, the boy has run away. Ha ha. It seems that he thought of something. The returning Phage Chenjiao smiled and shook his head. Compared with Xiao Yang in front of him, his son really seemed a little disappointed. For 4 years, until a few months ago, his cultivation just broke through to the early stage of Huyuan territory. Look at Xiao Yang, there is no contrast between the two. Isn't he there? When it comes to Blood Crown, Xiao Yang's face suddenly shines with brilliance. He always deals with the old people, which makes him sometimes forget that he is only a young man. Only when he walks with Blood Crown and others, can he feel a sense of relief without pressure. At least, he doesn't have to play any thoughts. Ha, the boy went out with Linga. Recently, something seems to have been found in the depths of the North Sea, which has attracted a lot of people. The two of them have followed each other in the past. I've sent someone to follow. It'll be fine. Hai Zhantian laughed. He didn't care much about young people's affairs, but after experiencing the virtual environment at the bottom of the sea, he was much more careful. Whenever Hai Linga goes out, there will be strong people of high nationality to follow and protect. Ha, I didn't expect to see Brother Xiao Yang leave the customs as soon as I came back. Brother Xiao, welcome back. However, just at this time, a hearty laugh suddenly sounded over the stone platform. Then, the void beside Phage Qianjiao was slightly distorted, and the shape of Blood Crown also appeared. Blood Crown, brother. As soon as they met, they immediately gave each other a big hug. After a few greetings, they seemed to find the two people around them, and immediately chatted up and smiled. Then, Xuemian told the three about what he had seen and heard in his line. 2 months ago, not long after the Blood Crown had just broken through the source territory, a thick poisonous fog suddenly spread out from a deserted island in the depths of the North Sea. The toxicity in the poisonous fog was so strong that even some strong fighting emperors could not avoid it. Some strong fighting emperors even died because of the poisonous fog. It was from then on that originally uninhabited island attracted the attention of the strong in the North Sea. Until a few days ago, many powerful poison masters playing poison in the North Sea came from everywhere and surrounded the island. The most noteworthy thing is that among those poison masters, there are many strong masters at the level of source environment. Not long ago, many strong men attacked the island. After many attempts, most of the poison fog on the island finally dissipated. At the same time, the reasons for the spread of the poison fog were exposed to the public. It was not strange flowers and plants, nor high-level warcraft, but people who released the poison fog. A woman dressed in a long white dress looked as beautiful as Epiphyllum. What shocked everyone was that after the identification of those poison masters, the woman released the terrible poison fog because of her natural terrible constitution. Doom poison. That is, at this time, Xiao Yang, who heard all this stated by Blood Crown, suddenly appeared a beautiful shadow in his mind. Is it her? The sudden thought in her heart made Xiao Yang feel uneasy at the bottom of her heart, but Xiao Yang insisted that she should still be there at the moment. It was impossible to encounter such a danger. By the way, look at this. Then, the light in the palm of the Blood Crown flashed, and a dark blue bead was pinched and burst at the moment of appearance. Then, a clear image also appeared in front of the 4 people. What is shown in the image is a battle with great strength, and the battlefield is the island. When Xiao Yang saw the information presented in the image clearly, especially when he saw the stunning woman in a long white dress in the battle circle, his uneasiness was instantly amplified. At the same time, a mixed emotion of shock and anger suddenly arose from the bottom of his heart. The woman appearing in the image is the one who should be living in the fighting continent. Little doctor. On the boundless sea level, Xiao Yang is flying forward at full speed. The strong wind pressure will stir up layers of huge waves in the sea below, and Xiao Yang's body has disappeared at the end of his sight in the blink of an eye. Before leaving the seabed, Xiao Yang had carefully asked Xuemian about the specific direction of the island. When Xuemian saw the almost uncontrollable anger in Xiao Yang's eyes, he was also abrupt and awe in his heart. He didn't dare to have the slightest hesitation, and quickly pointed out the specific direction of the island for Xiao Yang. Then, when Xiao Yang flashed and burst, the terrible speed also shocked the Blood Crown again. After Phage Qianjiao told him that Xiao Yang's cultivation was more like a huge hammer hitting his chest, which made him unable to breathe for a moment, and his heart was not calm for a long time. As for Xiao Yang at this time, he doesn't know why the latter came here, but seeing her in danger, Xiao Yang's heart can't be calm. The cultivation in the middle stage of Huayuanjing, together with Qianjue step and wing elephant determination, make Xiao Yang's speed at the moment reach an unimaginable level. According to what Xuemian said, from the bottom of the sea to the island, even if it is based on the cultivation of Huayuanjing, it will take at least an hour. However, now, Xiao Yang has clearly emerged a small island in the distance of his sight in less than half an hour. At the same time, there are the dense shadows in the sky. These people come for the sake of misfortune poison, but no matter what purpose they have, they are all people who can be killed and should be killed with Xiao Yang at the moment. The dragon has an inverse scale, and those who touch it are angry, and Xiao Yang's inverse scale is all the people he wants to protect in his heart. At the same time, on the island, at this moment, a group of people stared at them with a strange smile. It was a beautiful woman covered with scars, with greed and lust in her eyes. Gaga, the body of misfortune poison is different. Although it is only the 3-star fighting emperor, it can release far more power than its own cultivation, break through the fighting emperor, and even the poison all over has become a lot more powerful. Ha ha ha, although it's a waste of time, I've finally seen the strength of this little girl. If we can find a way to transfer her constitution to us and divide it, it can not only enhance our strength, but also ensure that we won't be eroded by poison. It's really killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Gaga, gaga, more than 2 gains. I think this woman is also a rare beauty. If you take her back and make a tripod stove. Gaga, gaga. With a burst of strange laughter, several bearded old men in purple robes slowly approached the frail woman in front of them. When the woman heard the obscene words from these people, she couldn't help showing her unwilling anger on her pale pretty face. Bay teeth bit hard on the tip of her tongue, and the bloody smell immediately filled her mouth. At the same time, a dark purple light also appeared in the depths of a pair of dim beautiful eyes. Hey, do you want to work hard? Ha ha ha, I don't like playing with dead people. Among the 5 people who walked slowly forward, an old man with a short and fat mustache smiled and immediately moved. The seemingly short and fat body came to the woman at an extremely fast speed. His greasy big hand stretched forward to control the woman's snow-white jade neck. The latter's delicate body also flashed suddenly at the moment. It seemed strange and dangerous to avoid the big hand of the pudgy old man, but then, a corner of the silk skirt hung on the fragrant shoulder was torn off by Shengsheng. Suddenly, a large area of snow-white spring light was immediately exposed to the air. Gaga, it's fun to tear it up. The pudgy old man laughed, took a deep breath of the fragrance on the broken skirt cloth in his hand, and then grabbed it on the woman's delicate body again. Shua. And just as the pudgy old man turned around, a dark purple fight was fierce, but it was hard to cut at the pudgy old man's throat at a lightning speed. Bang! However, the woman's attack was easily broken by the pudgy old man. At the same time, the milky sauce chi quickly lingered on his body surface. Yes, I still have the courage to attack under such circumstances. It's really a fierce wild horse. However, the more wild horses, the more pleasure they have to conquer. With an obscene smile, the other 4 people behind them also laughed. At the same time, the body of the pudgy old man suddenly flickered and appeared in front of the woman at a lightning speed. In the shocked eyes of the latter, he clapped it with 1 hand. Finally, under the woman's efforts to avoid, he still fell on the sweet shoulder on the right. Pooh! The blood splashed. At the moment of spitting out, it turned into a blood arrow and stabbed the dwarf old man's eyebrows. Stubborn. This time, the pudgy old man simply snorted coldly, his body shook, and his powerful momentum suddenly swept out, smashing the oncoming blood arrow. At the same time, he also bombarded the woman's delicate body. At the same time, the whole person's breath suddenly fell to the bottom of the valley. At the moment when the delicate body fell to the ground, the red blood couldn't help gushing out, and the whole person immediately lost all his combat power. Quack, quack. The pudgy old man came down with a smile and walked in front of the woman. He looked at the beautiful person lying on the ground, bent his lower body and grabbed the woman's delicate body. At this time, although the woman was not in a coma, the whole delicate body could not move at all. She could only watch the fat old man's greasy hands getting closer and closer to her body until finally, whoosh dash. Just when the woman closed her beautiful eyes and was ready to mobilize all her strength to die, there was a sharp sound of breaking the air between heaven and earth. Almost at the same time, A black streamer flew past the short and fat old man in an instant. At the same time, the latter's body was also suddenly solidified. Ah! Then, the deafening scream sounded immediately. The people present followed the prestige. They saw that the right hand just extended by the pudgy old man, together with half of his arm, disappeared at this moment. Only the scarlet blood sprayed out continuously. As for the beautiful woman lying in front of him at that moment, she had disappeared. When the people at the scene hurried to sweep away their eyes, they saw that not far in front of the pudgy old man, a young man in black robes was gently placing the woman in his arms on a flat boulder behind him, and then slowly turned around and looked up. His extremely cold eyes scanned everyone present. "Damn it! It's you. It's you. You broke my hand. I want you to die." The pudgy old man, who was almost crazy because of pain, roared wildly, and his body wanted to rush forward. At the same time, the 4 purple-robed people behind him and some powerful people in the rear also looked at each other with gloomy faces, and wanted to rush towards Xiao Yang. At this time, Xiao Yang, whose face was extremely cold, suddenly stepped forward, and his powerful momentum swept out. At the same time, the voice of extremely cold words also vomited out. "Who moves, who dies? Who moves, who dies?" The voice of extremely cold words rang in everyone's ears, but then came a burst of laughter. As for the 5 purple-robed people in front of the crowd at the moment, they disdained to release the majestic energy in their bodies, set off one after another and rushed towards Xiao Yang. In the face of the 5 people, Xiao Yang's face did not change, but his cold killing intention in his eyes became more and more vigorous. Seeing that the pudgy old man in front of several people was coming, Xiao Yang clenched his right hand into a fist, and his terrible strength condensed in the palm of his hand in an instant. At the same time, in the cyclone in his body, the surging energy also surged up at this moment. A light blue flame emerged from the depths of his eyes, and then he punched the pudgy old man who was rushing in front of him. Bang! When the fists and palms collided, the dull sound of collision suddenly sounded. The terrible strength, wrapped and carried by the source chi, severely impacted the other palm of the pudgy old man. With the momentum of destruction, the strong strength broke the old man's arm next to the word in an instant. The remaining strength rushed into the old man's body with undiminished power, followed by a bang. The pudgy old man's body, it is the uncontrolled backward flight, and the whole person's breath will be silent. Old 5. Seeing that the pudgy old man was blown away by Xiao Yang's fist, the 4 people's faces immediately changed. Then they turned around and their cold eyes fell on Xiao Yang. "Bastard, where did you come from? You dare to hurt old 5. Damn it. Come together and kill the boy." A voice containing the meaning of resentment spewed out, and then the 4 purple-robed people rushed to Xiao Yang again. None of these 4 people are strong at the level of Huiyuan territory. One of them has even reached the middle of Huiyuan territory, which is no less than Xiao Yang. At the moment, the 4 people fight together, and the overwhelming terror is all oppressed towards the latter, which makes people breathless. However, in the face of the joint efforts of the 4 people, Xiao Yang not only did not retreat at all, but his body shook violently. The 3 huge virtual images with different colors were quickly condensed behind him, and then quickly retracted, covering Xiao Yang's body layer by layer. Power elephant. Gold elephant. Wing elephant. The 3 elephants decided to display together. Suddenly, a domineering breath of Lingtian came out of Xiao Yang's body. Even the ground standing under his feet was buzzing and trembling. Drink. More than that, when the 3 elephants decided to join the body, Xiao Yang gave a violent drink in his mouth, and the terrible momentum immediately swept out of his body and met the momentum oppression of the 4 people. Bang! With a low muffled noise, the 4 people in the field were held back by Xiao Yang alone. Then, the 4 people looked at each other, and their bodies flashed rapidly. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in front of Xiao Yang. One of them waved his palm, the source gas in his palm condensed, and one of them bombarded Xiao Yang's chest. Then, the other 3 are like shadow, and their moves are mysterious. They all attack Xiao Yang from different directions. Wing elephant. With a low cry in his heart, Xiao Yang's body suddenly flashed quickly. He shuttled freely between the 4 people, easily avoided the joint attack of the 4 people, and at the same time, he hit one of them heavily on the chest. He only heard a puff. While spraying blood, the figure flew out of control. Then, the other 3 people were blown out by Xiao Yang by the same means, but they were much better than the former. Based on Xiao Yang's cultivation, and then display the wing elephant determination and Tianjua step, its speed is invincible in the same level. In particular, the wing elephant determination can not only increase its own movement speed, but also increase the speed of all aspects. Whether it is the adjustment of energy, the cohesion of fighting skills, or the speed of shooting, it can be called ghost. In the same level, if Xiao Yanruo makes a positive move with others, the other party will not be his opponent. As for the strong ones in the later stage of Huiyuan territory, if they met that day, Xiao Yang would also like to try to see where his current limit is. But at the moment, what Xiao Yang thought was how to kill these people. Of course, it also included those who had acted before but stopped at last. He said, "Whoever moves will die. Do what you say. Damn smelly boy, don't be complacent too early. It's too easy for you to think of 1 against 4. The 4 people gathered together in embarrassment and looked at each other. There was a trace of blood on each person's mouth, and their blood was churning in their body. I didn't expect that this sudden hairy boy in front of me would have such strength, which not only made their 5 younger brothers lose their combat power, but also caught them unprepared. However, even so, don't forget that in addition to being strong in Huayuanjing, they themselves are also 4 poison masters and 4 poison masters at Huayuanjing level. Together, with autophagy, among the 4 people, the strong man with cultivation in the middle of Huiyuan territory gave a low drink, and the 4 people immediately nodded heavily. Even if they pinched and printed again, at the same time, the milky source gas originally lingering on the body surface turned strangely into a purple, and there was a sound of hissing from time to time. Then, the 4 people waved their big hands, and the purple source gas immediately began to flow. It quickly solidified in the air and turned into a large group of crows. They screamed and rushed hard at Xiao Yang. Gaga, gaga. When the 4 people performed together, a large area of purple source gas suddenly turned into countless purple crows, and swooped down from top to bottom towards Xiao Yang. The huge number was like a large area of purple clouds, which made people feel a thrill. In this regard, Xiao Yang was unmoved. He stood straight in place, held his right hand, and 4 black and lengthy steel needles condensed between his fingers. When the countless crows rushed in, Xiao Yang suddenly waved his big sleeve. Suddenly, the light blue flame immediately rushed forward and turned into a spear. He rushed into the crows from the front end of the crows. The terrible high temperature immediately spread. The crows covered the sky and the earth also dissipated in an instant. Pooh! Almost at the same time, between the 4 people, a dark figure flashed like lightning. At the same time, the 4 people's bodies trembled immediately, and then there was no action. At the same time, there is also the vitality in the eyes of these 5 people. Then, Xiao Yang slowly raised his eyes, and his eyes fell on those people who had moved their steps before. Panic followed. The shrill screams rang out one after another on the island, and the breathless bodies fell uncontrollably from the air. Until a long time later, the so-called high-ranking fighting emperors on the field had been killed by Xiao Yang. Until this time, he gasped and stopped and looked back at the white-skirt woman lying on the boulder. It was the little medical fairy. Oh! Although physically and mentally exhausted, Xiao Yang still grinned and moved, and wanted to fly to the little medical fairy below. But at this time, Shua, an amazing rainbow of energy pierced Xiao Yang's body in an instant. Hey! Then, on the high altitude not far from the rear, there was a sudden surprise. An old man hiding under the black robe raised his head with surprise and looked at Xiao Yang's place, but saw that at the moment, Xiao Yang's body was scattered into an invisible light spot and disappeared between heaven and earth. Residual shadow? The old man's pupil contracted slightly. Unexpectedly, Xiao Yang, who had spent a lot of effort, was able to escape his sudden attack. Hiss! And then the next moment, a broken wind suddenly sounded between heaven and earth. The old man's face suddenly changed and hurried to dodge, but he was still torn by the streamer. Looking at the corner of his broken black robe, the old man's face was slightly heavy and looked up. A young man in black robe was emerging from the void from a distance, staring at him with a cold face. If you can avoid my blow just now, you must have found me long ago. Taking off his black robe, the old man showed his thin dark cheeks, and a pair of cloudy old eyes stared at Xiao Yang with a slightly surprised smile. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang was non-committal and didn't pay more attention. With a wave of his right hand, the raging flame suddenly rose in the palm of his hand, and the temperature between heaven and earth changed suddenly at this moment. Strange fire. Looking at the burning flame in Xiao Yang's hand, the greedy light appeared in the old man's dark eyes. Compared with the white-skirt woman, the strange fire in Xiao Yang's hand just made him more excited. If it wasn't for this, I'm afraid he would have to push back. This friend, why don't you give me the strange fire and I'll let you leave with her? Suddenly, the old man grinned and said impolitely, hiss. However, what the old man said in exchange was Xiao Yang's merciless flame. The streamer broke through the void, but in the blink of an eye, it had appeared in front of the old man and was about to fall on the latter, but the old man still looked indifferent and looked at the rapidly amplified flame streamer in his eyes. Just when the flame streamer was about to fall on the old man, in the invisible void, a strong arm suddenly sprang out. Under the package of source gas, one punch destroyed the flame streamer. Then, 3 strong figures appeared in front of the old man one after another. Xiao Yang's eyes swept away and his heart was suddenly cold. At the moment, the 3 strong men appeared. They were all strong in Huiyuan territory. Their breath was not weak compared with the previous 5 people. Hihi, what's the matter? Have you figured it out? Although you killed those guys quickly, the relative consumption will not be small. What's more, you killed those small minions. In your current state, in the face of our 4 strong sources, if you don't want to hand over different fire, I really don't know how you can live, so I advise you to be good, give it to me, and I can save you from death. The old man in black robe walked out from behind the 3 people with a smile. At the moment when the words fell, the vast soul force swept out like a storm and fell on Xiao Yang's head. Feeling the horror of this soul power, other people present also suddenly changed their faces. The old man's soul power is above level 5. 5th order soul power. Well, would you like to? The old man seemed very satisfied with the shocked eyes around him. He looked like an expert with his hands behind him. But what he did was shameless. Of course, in this world of the law of the jungle, there was no distinction between good and evil. While the words in the mouth of the old man in black robe fell, the soul pressure that came to Xiao Yang's head also became more and more powerful, but Xiao Yang's face still didn't change at all. Then, just as the old man in black robe was about to put pressure again, Xiao Yang suddenly snorted coldly. For a while, a terrible soul force much stronger than the former suddenly turned into an invisible energy storm, sweeping across the world. At the same time, it also shook the old man in black robe back a few steps. The moment he looked up, the old man in black robe immediately had a deep shock in his eyes, and his face changed suddenly. Together with the 3 strong men behind him and the strong people around him, he looked at Xiao Yang in the field with an unbelievable face. 5 levels of soul power. This boy is also 5 levels of soul power. Damn, even if you have 5 levels of soul power, I don't believe it. You alone can defeat the 4 strong people in the source environment. With a loud drink, the 3 strong people in Huiyuan territory behind the old man immediately stepped forward, and the rugged momentum swept outward without reservation. Then they moved and turned into 3 streamers. However, in the blink of an eye, they came to Xiao Yang, waved their huge fists and bombarded Xiao Yang. Bang bang! Then, with 3 dull loud noises, the 3 strong people in the source environment couldn't help but scream. Their strong body immediately flew out of control, and finally fell on the island below. Immediately, when all the people present raised their eyes in amazement, they saw that in front of Xiao Yang, 3 figures stood impressively, and the powerful momentum spread out from their bodies, making everyone on the whole island suddenly change their faces. These 3 people suddenly appeared. Judging from their breath, none of them is the strong existence in the later stage of Huayuanjing. However, just when everyone at the scene focused on the 3 people, a Taoist shadow fell from the sky on the left and right sides of Xiao Yang, and there were as many as 100 people. And these 100 people, without exception, are the existence of Huiyuan environment level. 100 strong people in Huiyuan environment. It's an unforgivable sin for a gang of bastards to move the elders of our high family on our high family's territory. Kill me. Deep in the North Sea, the sea shark family is in Xiao Yang's bedroom. At this moment, a stunning woman in a long white dress is lying flat on the bed. Her beautiful eyes are closed. There is heaven and earth energy flowing into her body as she breathes and breathes. This woman is the little medical fairy rescued by Xiao Yang from the island. At that time, because the latter was seriously injured, after Xiao Yang rescued him, the latter had fallen into a coma. Fortunately, with the pill Xiao Yang took for him, the injury in Xiao Yishen's body had improved. I believe he should be able to wake up from the coma in a few days. As for recovery, I'm afraid it will take a few days. Beside the bed, Xiao Yang looked calmly at the beautiful people lying flat in front of him, but he couldn't help feeling a little excited. He didn't think that he could actually see his few friends in this strange land. It's really where we don't meet in life. However, while Xiao Yang was surprised at this, he also thought of Zuna at this time. Compared with him and Xiao Yixian, the latter is being detained by those inexplicable strong men. Even Xiao Yang doesn't know the specific situation of the latter. Soul Clan. At the thought of this, Xiao Yang could not help but clench his fist. Those annoying ghost things could not be thrown away even if he came here. Well. At this time, on the bed, the little medical fairy who had fallen into a coma suddenly frowned, and a slight dull hum came out between her pretty nose. Then, a pair of beautiful and moving eyes slowly opened. The sudden movement of Xiao Yixian also immediately aroused Xiao Yang's idea. Looking at it, it happened to be opposite to the 4 eyes of Xiao Yixian, who opened his eyes. Suddenly, 2 emotions poured out from the bottom of their heart. Xiao Yang. Regardless of his injuries, the little doctor suddenly got up and threw herself into Xiao Yang's arms. The evil woman in distress, who is well known in the outside world, at the moment, the tears in her eyes poured out uncontrollably and fell down her beautiful cheeks. The sobs suddenly sounded in Xiao Yang's arms. The woman's actions, as if to vent all the grievances over this period of time, she was desperate to cry. Xiao Yang was caught off guard by Xiao Yang's behavior. The look on his face was stunned for a long time. Then he hesitated to put Xiao Yixian's building in his arms and let the latter cry wrongly. Unexpectedly, he did not find a pair of young men and women standing in front of the door that was opened behind him. Blood Crown and Hai Linga just wanted to see the situation, but they didn't expect to see such a scene as soon as they opened the door. It was really unexpected. The 2 of them quietly withdrew until after the good film was engraved. Xiao Yishen's eyes were red and separated from Xiao Yang's arms. They looked at each other. A blush appeared on Xiao Yishen's pretty face. Xiao Yang also felt a little embarrassed and calmed down. Then they asked Xiao Yishen why the latter appeared on the island. Hearing Xiao Yang's inquiry, the little doctor took back his mind. When he was thinking, he couldn't help showing his hatred and remorse on his pretty face. Then he told Xiao Yang exactly what happened in the angry mainland a few years ago. Xiao Yang, judging from their costumes at that time, it is likely that those 2 people are people of the Soul family. Bang! Just when Xiao Yang blurted out his last words, the chair he sat down on burst instantly, and his body suddenly stood up. A violent killing intention suddenly gushed out of his body. Unexpectedly, it turned into an invisible breath and swirled around his body. Feeling the cold killing intention, the look on the pretty face of the little doctor suddenly changed. A dark color flashed in the depths of a pair of beautiful eyes, but then he returned to his mind, raised his eyes to Xiao Yang, frowned and said, "Although I probably recognize them as people of the Soul family, I can't see where they come from." Ghost break door. Xiao Yang took a deep breath and forcibly suppressed the crazy killing intention in his heart. Then, he said word by word, "Ghost break door?" The little doctor frowned and wondered. It was those ghosts who took Zuna. Their goal. Is Tuorsha Gudi Jade again? Is it Tuorsha ancient imperial jade again? The little doctor was surprised. It was because of this that Tuor Shigu Diu upset the whole angry continent and almost sent the whole continent to the Sea of Fire. He thought that the Soul Emperor was sealed by Xiao Yang. This should be the end of this matter, but he didn't expect that when they thought everything was over, on this distant alien continent, unexpectedly, there is another force that has already made the idea of Tuorsha ancient imperial jade. Even across a continent, these guys still don't want to give up chasing them. Then Xiao Yang told the little doctor about the Ghost Hall Lord and his meeting with Zuna. Hearing that those guys actually threatened Xiao Yang with Zuna as a hostage, the little doctor's face immediately showed a very cold killing intention. Especially after thinking of the methods and means of the Ghost Hall, he was convinced that these guys must be people of the Soul family. What's the difference between these means and Xiao Zhan, the father who kidnapped Xiao Yang at the beginning? These people are neither human nor ghost. They are doing some sneaky and shady activities. It's damn. Xiao Yang gradually calmed down, and the crazy killing intention in his eyes gradually dissipated. Although he was worried about Zuna, he also knew better that if he wanted to rescue Zuna, first of all, he needed strong strength. Only when he had strong cultivation skills enough to shake the ghost break door, could he have the opportunity to rescue Zuna from it. Otherwise, even if he was angry, it would be useless. Therefore, instead of daydreaming, it's better to find a way to improve your accomplishments. When Xiao Yang withdrew from the room, he found that Xuemian and Hai Linga were sitting in the courtyard. The corners of their mouths were holding an inexplicable smile and looked at Xiao Yang coming out of the room. Noticing the strange eyes of the two people, Xiao Yang couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at himself, but there seemed to be no change, which surprised Xiao Yang. When Xiao Yang came near, Blood Crown joked on his face. "Hey, brother Xiao Yang, is that your wife?" This video will end here.